James Cameron's career does not begin with a red carpet or a film set. It begins with a man alone in a truck cab at night, parked at the edge of Los Angeles, sleeping between shifts. No agents, no safety net, just notebooks filled with sketches and mechanical ideas. This image matters because Cameron's wealth was never built on popularity or access. It was built on an obsession with control. Everything that follows is simply evidence. The outcome can be stated plainly. James Cameron would become one of the few filmmakers in history to turn creative authority into billionaire-scale leverage. Not by making many films, but by making himself irreplaceable. He did not chase volume. He engineered inevitability. From the beginning, Cameron understood something Hollywood prefers to obscure. Talent without authority is expendable, but authority compounds. There was no dynasty behind him, no film school pedigree. Cameron dropped out of college and drifted through technical jobs, absorbing systems the way others absorb stories. He studied machines, not characters. Cameras, hydraulics, lenses, timing. Movies were not emotional experiences to him. They were engineered outcomes. This distinction shaped everything. Where others sought approval, Cameron sought mastery over process. His entry point was Roger Corman's low-budget factory, a place designed to exploit ambition through scarcity. Cameron learned quickly. He painted sets, built models, solved problems at speed. Scarcity wasn't a disadvantage, it was training. Every constraint forced precision. Every mistake carried consequences. This environment rewarded those who could do more than their job description, and Cameron absorbed that lesson permanently. Then came failure. Piranha 2 stripped him of creative control and exposed him to studio interference. The experience was humiliating, but instructional. Cameron learned the most important rule of his career. If you do not own the decisions, you will be blamed for the outcome anyway. From that moment, control stopped being a preference and became policy. The turning point arrived disguised as a reckless gamble. Cameron sold the script for the Terminator for $1. The price was symbolic, almost insulting. But the contract carried something far more valuable than money. He retained the right to direct. Casting, pacing, tone, all non-negotiable. The industry saw an inexperienced filmmaker giving away his work. Cameron saw a leveraged position. The result rewrote his trajectory. A $6 million film became a global phenomenon. More importantly, it established a pattern. Cameron was willing to forfeit immediate income in exchange for structural authority. This was not humility. It was long-term dominance. He had proven that when he controlled the system produced outsized returns. From there, escalation followed engineering logic. Aliens demonstrated scalability. The Abyss became an endurance test, pushing crews and technology beyond tolerance. Cameron was labeled difficult, obsessive, impossible. The label never mattered. What mattered was consistency. Every project expanded his leverage. Every success reduced the studio's ability to say no. The chapter closes at Terminator 2, the first $100 million film. Digital effects as infrastructure, not spectacle. Cameron was no longer asking for trust. He was setting terms. Hollywood did not shape him. It adjusted around him. The man from the truck cab had converted control into currency, and the compounding had begun. By the time Titanic entered production, the industry had already made up its mind. The story was predetermined in Hollywood's imagination. James Cameron, the uncontrollable director, would attempt a romantic epic that no one requested, and a budget ballooning beyond reason would finally topple him. He was no longer the unknown director who once drove trucks and built models for B-movies. Now he was framed not as ambitious, but reckless. To outsiders, the conclusion seemed inevitable. Arrogance, ambition, and technical obsession would finally collide in disaster. Cameron understood this perception, and he let it persist because the misunderstanding served his strategy. Hollywood thought it controlled the narrative. Cameron had already calculated how to turn that assumption to his advantage. The risk was total. Titanic was not a franchise, a sequel, or a project guaranteed by prior audience loyalty. It was an enormous historical tragedy, constructed on a scale of technical ambition and narrative emotionality that few had ever attempted. The budget escalated past $200 million, a number that at the time seemed impossible to justify. Executives fretted. Investors whispered. Studio boards hovered in anxious committees. Cameron's response was deceptively simple. He voluntarily surrendered his directing salary. It was not humility, penance, or theatrics. It was leverage. By giving up immediate compensation, he secured what mattered most: full creative authority and profit participation. The deal ensured that he would maintain control over casting, set design, pacing, and every minute of production. In effect, Cameron bought autonomy, not money, and the message was clear: he would never compromise vision for comfort. When Titanic finally reached theaters, the results were transformative. The film did not merely succeed, it annihilated previous expectations. Box office records fell one after another. Doubt and skepticism evaporated. Critics who had predicted catastrophe conceded the scale, precision, and emotional resonance of Cameron's achievement. While his personal earnings approached $100 million from profit participation, the more profound transformation was invisible. Cameron had altered the underlying dynamics of his industry. Studios, which had traditionally served as gatekeepers of opportunity, were repositioned as financiers. Cameron no longer required external permission to pursue large, complex, or unconventional projects. His freedom had been purchased with deliberate risk and meticulous negotiation. From this point onward, Cameron's career diverged sharply from his peers. While many directors sought to maximize visibility, media presence, and repetitive output, Cameron reduced exposure deliberately. He refused to saturate the market with constant releases. He did not chase fame or cultivate celebrity culture. Instead, he retreated from the public eye. Time, not attention, became the metric by which he measured value. Long development periods, technological experimentation, and careful preparation replaced rapid production cycles. Cameron's absence was not retreat, it was insulation. He could think, experiment, and innovate on his own schedule without interference, criticism, or external pressure. Autonomy was his reward, earned through years of strategic patience. Avatar exemplifies the philosophy Cameron had been building over decades. The story was simple, a science fiction narrative about an alien world and an indigenous species. The execution, however, was unprecedented. Cameron waited for technology that did not exist, then proceeded to create it. Studios framed the endeavor as a gamble too vast to undertake. Cameron, however, treated it as infrastructure, a controlled, engineered system designed to execute his vision perfectly. Budgets made headlines, yet authority remained intact. He controlled timing, tools, technology, and personnel. Once again, Cameron had converted risk into power, turning what outsiders perceived as recklessness into a system for sustainable, autonomous creative production. When Avatar became the highest-grossing film in cinema history, Cameron entered billionaire territory. The moment was stark and almost clinical. He did not suddenly pivot into ostentatious consumption. There were no sprawling mansions in Los Angeles, no fleets of luxury vehicles, no public displays of wealth. His earnings were invested into land, technology, and autonomy, the ultimate safeguards against interference. Cameron's understanding of luxury was entirely unconventional. Unlike most high-net-worth individuals, he did not equate wealth with visibility. Property functioned as perimeter, not as display. Distance replaced proximity. Silence replaced accessibility. The material footprint was minimal, yet power and freedom were absolute. The clearest demonstration of Cameron's philosophy came not in Hollywood, but in the depths of the Pacific Ocean. He commissioned and piloted the Deep-Sea Challenger, a submersible capable of reaching the Mariana Trench. He undertook the journey alone, descending nearly 11 kilometers below the ocean surface, far deeper than any solo human dive before. There was no commercial incentive, no audience, and no immediate return on investment. The submersible was eventually donated to science. Here, wealth and ambition intersected in their purest form. Money was used to access uncharted experience, to expand human knowledge, and to live in alignment with personal curiosity rather than public expectation. Depth, literally and metaphorically, became the measure of Cameron's success. Cameron's professional rigor mirrored his personal governance. He limited output. He controlled exposure. Projects unfolded over years, sometimes decades. Relevance, which decays quickly in most careers, was ignored. Cameron invested instead in durability, building systems and technologies that would persist far longer than temporary acclaim. His projects are rare by design, but inevitable in execution. His authority, once contested, is now absolute yet quietly maintained. Cameron's work and life exemplify a deliberate patience. The long view is prioritized over immediate gratification, the unseen over the spectacle, and control over acclaim. Ultimately, Cameron's story returns to its beginning, a man alone confronting boundaries that others accept as fixed. He did not buy fame. Fame was incidental. Instead, he purchased freedom. The freedom to take time, to innovate deliberately, and to create without interference. Cameron chose autonomy over attention, insulation over notoriety, and exploration over ostentation. Depth, not display, became his signature. And in that choice, the measure of his wealth and legacy was made clear. It is not in dollars or headlines, but in the ability to live and create according to his own rules, undisturbed, and entirely on his own terms.